Hello and welcome back to the Delve podcast. I'm Allie. I'm a staff therapist here at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago.
And I'm Adam. I'm the Executive and Clinical Director at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago.
With this podcast, we're not trying for fame here. We just want to add value to as many people's lives as possible. So if you are enjoying this podcast, we ask that you send it to at least one other person. It would really help us grow our listenership. Yeah, please, it would help us out.
Send it to two other persons.
We're upping the ante now. Here at Delve, we offer individual, couples, family, and group therapy. So if you're interested in a free consultation call, head on over to delvepsych.com. That's DELVEPSYCH.com. And we also have a Substack. We have some really great blog posts that we've been posting every single week. So go check it out at delvepsych.substack.com. Okay, so for today, one of our listeners had a topic request for us, which if you have a topic request, if you'd like us to chat about something that you've always pondered about in the psychology realm, send us an Instagram DM or message us on Substack. We'd love to hear what you guys want to know about.
Yeah, we're happy to answer your questions, broader existential or narrow and granular. Probably not super personal. If it's like my best friend's being a jackass, we might not be able to help with that on this particular platform. But in general, we would love to hear what you want us to talk about.
Yeah, so send those in. So this person would like us to talk about why we care so much or try to control what others think of us, why we do that, and how to manage our preoccupation with it.
Yeah, I think it's a super great question, and I suspect many of us have had the experience of trying to manage others' expectations or perceptions of us. I think this is nearly universal. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, very familiar topic.
Any initial insights as to why we do this?
I mean, we like being liked.
It seems socially advantageous, not getting kicked out of the cave and all.
Right. If we're going back to caveman days, like being liked and favorable socially was like means to survival, right? like
Absolutely.
people hated us and kicked us out of the tribe. You could get eaten by a mountain lion. So the stakes seem less high today, but there's still some stakes in it, right? I think if people like us more, then maybe we're invited to more of like the in crowd gatherings. If people like us more at work, like maybe we get better opportunities at work just because we're better liked. So I think that there are some ways that this can play out. Like it's not just about being liked. There's ways that this sort of like matriculates of like the benefits that we can reap from being liked by people.
Sure. I mean, we're a socially constructed society. Therefore, if we participate in that social construction in the ways that people want us to, then we're likely to have an easier time of it. And, if you think about survival and mating as being two of the most foundational things that a human might want, being perceived positively by others is a huge component to that.
Absolutely. But I think like the catch here is like trying to control what other people think of us. We can't do that. People are going to think how they think of us. And I think I've heard you say before, like someone out there is going to think you're an asshole.
Yeah, decide which people are going to be your enemies. It's a better strategy than trying to have none.
Yeah. But I can sense that like people would still feel discomfort in like just the concept of having enemies, any enemies, period.
Sure.
So,
Sure. If we have any enemies, then there are potential threats to us out there, but that's real, right?
mhm.
It is the case that there are some people in the world that will have a negative opinion of us and may exercise that opinion in some way that could damage us. I think that's a real thing that is truly true.
Mhm.
So to some degree, we're trying to kind of jerry-rig society into being something that it's not. I want this to be a safe, predictable, low uncertainty environment. That's not really the world we really live in. And if we want to write fiction stories, I encourage us to do so, as long as we don't confuse that fiction with reality.
Hmm. That last part, confusing fiction with reality. Expand on that more.
If in my mind I'm saying, and maybe this is in the unthought known, we call it, so I haven't
Hmm.
thought of this consciously, but I kind of know it implicitly. They would call that the unthought known. It's a psychodynamic term. Maybe this lives in that realm. But if somewhere in the unthought known there is this belief that if I just behave the way that everybody wants me to, if I follow all the rules and norms, if I'm super nice, if I just meet or exceed everyone's expectations of me, then everyone will like me and everything will be okay. And I'll be able to predict what's going on in my life, and
Hmm.
I will have no enemies, therefore no threats. If that's the story we're telling ourselves somewhere in that unthought known, good luck. That's a fantasy novel that you're constructing, that you're spinning.
Good luck. Yeah, that's just not possible.
But why does it break down? Let's get into that for a minute. Why does it break down? Because on the surface, it does seem like reasonable. If I just follow all the rules and do all the things, everyone will like me and things will be okay and predictable. Why would anybody come after me? Why would anybody be mad at me? Why would anybody aggress against me in some way or ostracize me in some way if I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing? Why would they do that?
I think, well, I don't know, a couple of thoughts come to mind. I think one, like, even if you feel like you're doing the right things, like, that may not, first of all, the right things,
Mm,
that's also like subjective to a point. Even if you feel like, okay, yeah, there's certain social norms and it's all agreed upon, right? Not necessarily.
yeah.
Um, so the doing the right thing to you may look different to somebody else. It's subjective. And then also perception. So even if like the reason why like we all have different perceptions of like what other people are doing, and the way that you're coming off to somebody else may receive it differently than you mean to come off, or the way that you think you're coming off. um
Yeah, absolutely. So you're being nice to somebody and they're skeptical of it because they think you're trying to get something from them. And all of a sudden they distrust you in that sense. And you're like, well, I just wanted you to have some nectarines. I thought you'd like them.
exactly. um so even if we're trying to come off nice, that person's own stuff about maybe they're guarded in some way because maybe like people have mistreated them in the past that have come off nice, they put that onto you, and so now you're the fake person that is only fakely being nice, and they can't trust you, and you're actually shady. It's like, what?
And there is also no individuation in meeting everyone's expectation. If you try to please everyone, you've become nothing. You're just a blob of your best estimation of the average of all humans' opinions.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an identity.
Yeah. And trying to please everyone you please no one.
Certainly not yourself.
Certainly not yourself. And yeah, who are you then? Then you're somebody that has no opinions and no
Right.
yeah.
I will also say, so there's a few bits of scholarship, terminology, framing, phenomenology that we could add here too that I think are pretty interesting. So in earlier iterations of personality testing, which I've got a lot of feelings and thoughts about, uh, there were these concepts of trying to present as good or trying to present as bad. So the way that this might look for somebody that's trying to present as good, they might call that positive impression management. I want you to have a positive impression of me. The way that might present is that you have somebody with, let's say, a chronic illness, and they really do need a lot of help and support. They're starting to struggle to function physically in the world. When you try to take care of them, when you ask them what they need, when you try to offer services and support and care, they say, "No, I'm good. Don't worry about it. I got it. I'll take care of it."
Mm.
That's positive impression management. I present to the world better than I am separately. And of course, the inverse, negative impression management. If anything is wrong, I'm going to elaborate upon, exacerbate within, if you will, those problems and present them as bigger and deeper and worse to the world than they would be on the surface. But this is somewhat self-referential. Somewhere in that unthought known, the person that is positive impression managing knows that they need a little help, knows that they're struggling to function. Maybe they don't know it explicitly, maybe they haven't said it out loud, but somewhere in that unthought known, they likely have some understanding of the fact that they're starting to struggle to function.
Mm.
Alternatively, the person that's negative impression managing, somewhere in the unthought known, likely knows that they can handle what's happening to them right now and has other motivations for why they might not present that to the world.
Right. That's an interesting concept that I've never heard of before. So how does this come into play with like really caring what others think about us and trying to control that?
Well, that's very much what it is, right? Let's imagine for a second the person with a chronic illness was also maybe the parentified child in childhood. So what does a parentified child learn? They learn that they need to stand on their own 2 feet. They know that they need to take care of themselves and others. It's their job to be the one that's in control and has complete maintenance on everything that's happening around them. So we're betraying a deep internal need to be in control, to have a chronic illness that means that I need help. And I would rather not go there. So I'm going to try to manage the impression of others because I'm trying to stick with something of a kind of a core identity, a core kind of part of my ego. I have
Right.
to be the one in control. I can't depend on other people.
Right. Yeah. And it would be, and if we showed to others that like we actually like maybe needed some help or needed some care, that feels threatening to who I see myself as or the core beliefs that I have about like being able to stand on my own 2 feet or whatever sort of beliefs I've learned, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
So then, of course, we get to Cooley's looking glass theory, too, which is, if you remember, we've said on the podcast before the quote from Charles Cooley, "I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am."
I love, 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 love this quote because we can't actually go into people's brains and know exactly how they think and feel about us. We have assumptions about what other people think about us. And that's really what we internalize and what we think about ourselves, right? I mean, because how, yeah. So I think that quote is just like so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it speaks to this idea that I am who I think you think I am means that you were involved in the process of making me. It's
Right.
one of the biggest misconceptions I think I find in all of psychology right now, lay psychology, is this idea that I can sort of self-define. I need to be myself. I need to be genuine from the inside out. I don't think that's real. We are social creatures and beings, and we are constructed partly out of the image that other people have of us, slash, really, the image that I think they have of me.
Right.
So you cannot do this alone. You do need other people, which means you are going to manage others' perceptions of you to some degree. But here's the kicker, and it kind of connects to some Lacan stuff, is I would say pick those people. Decide who you trust. Don't just give a mirror to any random asshole on the street and say, "What do you think of me?" Because they'll say, "I think you're an asshole." Maybe they will. Maybe they're nice. But I wouldn't encourage you to just do this with anyone. So pick the people that you mean to have in your life. Hold a mirror up to you. And then when they say something critical or negating, listen more because you picked them, because you trust them. If they're
Right.
allowed to hold a mirror up to you, let them. Don't give it to some random stranger. Give it to the people that you picked on purpose.
Okay. Yes, but this is where I think people get tripped up is they care what any and everyone thinks about them, and they get really, really, really preoccupied. So it's like maybe they had like a on an awkward interaction at the grocery store with someone where maybe they like cut someone in line, or maybe they like, I don't know, accidentally like shoved someone, I don't know. But
Yeah,
like,
you like nudged them on accident, and the person's like, "What the hell?"
and then you're like, and you the rest of the day you're just like ruminating on, oh my god, like that was terrible, that person thinks I'm like the rudest, most horrible person on the planet. You will probably never see this person ever again in your life. But yet, the whole entire rest of the day, you're in your head about how terrible that interaction was.
And the more in your head you are about that past interaction with the random ass stranger, the less in the moment you are for the next interaction with the people that you've picked and really care about. So now you're less attentive to your mother when she calls. You're less attentive to the student in your classroom when they have a need. You know, you're out of your game because you're back in some other game that already happened with somebody that doesn't matter. And if we follow this progression from trying to please everyone erases yourself, you become a blank nothingness. Then what you can see is you begin to give yourself some form by picking and placing certain people around you. Building
Mhm.
the structure around you helps you to define yourself because there's a little bit of me in who I picked. There's also a little bit of me that comes out of who those people are, what they represent, what we represent together, what we think of one another, what we've built together. I keep molding a little bit more of myself out of each of those things. And then there's also a bit me in the interaction between I try to do something, or I try to be something, or I try to say something, or I try to believe something, and it bounces off of you and comes back to me either in the affirmative or in the negative. As that happens with the people that I put in place very strategically, as those interactions occur, I make myself. That's why it's so devastating when you lose your people, when you lose a key person, or when a key person goes away. That was part of me that just went away there, that just died there, that just broke up there. Part of me went with that.
Yeah, I could see how that would feel disorienting to your identity. Um, does that kind of go along with like the phrase, like you are who you surround yourself with, kind of?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's it's obviously a shortcut. We're not exactly them, but we are the thing that we made in the space between me and them.
Yeah.
Because
So,
even them, I'm only going to show them pieces.
right. I I'm reading a acceptance and commitment therapy book, and there was a section that was kind of like how people get so caught up on like, who am I, and really trying to explore that question. And that can be kind of a trap, because I think a lot of times when we say, who am I, it's like it's a lot of stories and narratives that maybe we're fed in childhood that maybe aren't helpful or conducive. Like, oh, I'm a really anxious person, that's who I am. Then that can be kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And it kind of keeps you in that label of, I'm an anxious person, that's just who I am. And the book talks more about like, okay, it's less about who am I and more about like, who do you mean to be? Meaning like, what values are important to you that you're living in accordance to. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
Absolutely. We are so driven to operate in an egocentric way. And I imagine that's a term that people have either vaguely heard or not really heard. I know I was deep into psychology before the concept really made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But they're essentially the two valences here are egocentric and ego dystonic. Ego in this sense has a much more to do with kind of that deeper felt sense of personal resonance. This is kind of who I am, which is again a bit ephemeral and a bit concocted in the moment. It's a bit phenomenological. It's not maybe like a set point within you somewhere that is who you is. It's this general sense of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever that is, whatever that ego is, we have such a deep-seated human drive to operate in a way that is in sync with that belief system. We talk so much these days about motivation and how hard it is to get motivated. You want to see somebody that is super motivated for something, you threaten their ego. They will operate as aggressively, correctively towards ego syntonicity as they ever possibly could. You'll see it dominate people's entire lives. Motivation ain't a problem. And also the book, The Motivation Myth, is fantastic. But when we start to work in ego dystonic ways, if I do something that is ego dystonic, there is a little mini identity crisis that happens every single time that occurs. So when you're talking about why is it hard to change behavior, you have to change behavior partly by operating in ways that are ego dystonic. This doesn't feel right. This is different than what I usually try to do. So in order to change behavior, you have to actively and on purpose and continuously and repeatedly threaten your own identity.
Yeah, how scary and uncomfortable.
No wonder it's hard.
So basically what you're saying is like, just because something feels ego dystonic, meaning it doesn't feel, in air quotes, like me, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
Exactly.
Yep.
Absolutely and completely.
Because sometimes what's comfortable is maybe not what's good for you.
What's comfortable is egocentric, which is identity connected, which is historically linked and related to the people that are around you, and a manifestation of the way that you have constructed your life. You want something different, you got to break that mold, and that is going to hurt.
It's going to be uncomfy. So I want to get back, bring it around back to this idea of like this, this listener was like, okay, what do I do when I become super preoccupied? So for instance, like say, I went to like a big Halloween party and I met my like friends' friends. So these are friends of friends, not even like the friends in my like close circle, but they're not nobodies, right? They're not like strangers at the grocery store. And so maybe I feel like with these friends of friends, I didn't make the best first impression with them. Maybe I was a little too lit on this Halloween. And I'm just really preoccupied on this, in my mind, bad impression that I left on them. What shall I do about that?
So I think there's two parts. I think at a high level, The specificity is probably going to be an internal personal pursuit. You're going to build your own construction for how to handle these things. But if I'm talking very high level, broad strokes things that you could try, number one is just allow yourself a moment's suffering. That sucks. It sucks to have wanted to do so well and to have perceived that it went so poorly. That just sucks. And if we could just experience that, stop and stay there, and really just allow ourselves that solitary experience of suckitude, fine. There's value in letting those things just happen to us. And I'm not saying, the trap here is to say, oh, so that I don't do it again in the future. You will do it again in the future. So don't take that bait. It's okay to just have an emotional experience and not do anything with it. That's part one. Part two is go find those people. If you got 3 mirrors or 5 mirrors and you handed them out strategically to the really important people in your life, in a moment when you find yourself shaken, some part of your ego shaken, go find them. That's call your mom, talk to your partner, find your best friend. And it may not even be the case that you need to talk directly about the thing that happened. This is another of the misconceptions about social support in psychology these days. We think that if I had a bad interaction with my partner's friends, that I need to go to those people and talk about the bad interaction that I had with my partner's friends. What we find more often is that you really just need to connect with them. And verbal processing like that is one way to connect with them. But it is also the case that if you were to have that bad interaction, then get back around your friends and just play a game of D&D and like murder some goblins, you'll feel better. But also, you won't just feel better because you had a distraction. You'll feel better because you were able to embody yourself around the people who reflect back to you who you are. I got to be me in the presence of the people who helped define me, which helps me feel solid in my footing. And if I'm solid in my footing, then I can deal with the fact that that didn't go so well. Is it going to be perfect? No. Am I going to kind of wince at it as I'm trying to close my eyes at night? For sure. But I'll also remember that people love me. I know how to connect with them. I've got my safe spaces. So you sort of want to do both. Allow the whinging, allow the suffering, but also connect with your people. And you don't necessarily have to connect exactly, directly, topically. Just be around them.
Yeah, be around the people who, and not saying that the people that you made this bad impression on don't matter at all, but surround yourself with the people that really, really, truly matter. And even if you don't, like you said, discuss the topic exactly with that person, just being around that person, being yourself, having good, warm, fuzzy interactions can help.
There you go.
Love it. All right, new quote on the board. Quit throwing half measures at existential problems. Quit throwing half measures at existential problems.
This might be me taking shots at CBT.
Ooh, let's go, Adam. Let's go. Say a little more, Adam.
I find that many of the more manualized treatments will take a person that is in an existentially complicated place. I don't know what I'm doing in this world. I'm not sure what the point of anything is. I'm not even sure if the things that I've said as important in my life are worth even having. CBT will spend a lot of time reframing those toward some pretty basic ideas that maybe have some merit, but don't really address the magnitude or the vastness of some of those questions. You think about somebody that is really questioning the idea of like extreme self-isolation. You know what? I've just had such a hard time with everybody in my life, and I keep bothering people. I keep upsetting people. People keep getting mad at me, and it's not working. I think I just want to go live off the grid. I'm going to find a cabin in northern Minnesota, and I'm just I don't know. I'll go to the grocery store once a week and I'll say hello to the cashier, and that's going to be my human interaction. And after that, I'm going to hunt a moose. I don't know if there's meese in Minnesota, but if I'm going to go hunt something that's in northern Minnesota, that's how I'm going to operate. But if you try to reframe that person's framing away from that particular set of cognitions, you're not addressing some of the core ideas there. Like, should I be connected to others? Is it valuable for me to be connected to society? What is the purpose of a human being connected to society? What is the do people have inherent value? Is social connection mandatory? Do I have the power to hurt other people by my mere presence? What is the point of the nature of and the allowances for grace? All of those questions go unaddressed.
Yeah, all those questions go unaddressed if you just like come at it like, okay, so, uh, I don't know what would be like the CBT reframe or of
I
that
don't know. Give me one of
situation.
the thoughts, because usually CBT's, well, cognitive therapy, the cognitive therapy part of CBT is going to pick one of the cognitions and pick at it. So, I mean, it can enumerate them and go one by one, but like, let's pick one.
Okay, so the guy's like, man, no one really likes me. I keep trying, and this human interaction thing
No
doesn't
one
work.
really likes you? Can you think of no one that has ever liked you?
I'm telling you right now that every person in my purview right now, friends, family, they all seem like really upset and disappointed in me. So yeah, it
And
feels like everyone hates me right now.
it feels like everyone hates you.
Yeah.
Does everyone hate you?
I don't know. Maybe.
So there's some uncertainty there. You're not entirely sure whether they do or they don't.
Sure. Okay, maybe they don't all hate me, but it feels like enough people don't see me as a valuable friend, daughter, person. So might as well just live on my own.
It's interesting to me that you've got some separation between the idea of what they may believe about you and how it feels. Okay, maybe they don't believe this, but it feels like they believe this. So you're separating those two, and that seems valuable to me.
Okay.
Then you're saying, well, you said you don't know if you're a valuable daughter, right? I
Hmm.
don't know if they see me as a valuable daughter. What
Hmm.
do they think a valuable daughter is?
Oh man, a daughter who's financially successful, probably married, um, is able to bake and cook.
And who said those things to you?
I don't know. I feel like society,
But
or
not
maybe
those people.
they did. Maybe like not explicitly said those things, but
You
I
think
feel
one
like
of them implicitly said it?
yeah, they value those things in the way they talk about like other people's daughters of like, oh wow, you know.
So maybe they do hold those beliefs about daughters, but maybe they don't. We don't really know. And I wonder if there are some other things that they may believe that you haven't heard them say explicitly. Can you imagine anything that they might have said in the past that you haven't paid as much attention to?
Maybe. Um maybe they value a daughter with a good heart.
You say that almost dismissively, but that seems like it'd be true to me.
Sure. Yeah, maybe they value that. Um yeah, someone who cares for other people, someone who tries to keep in touch with their family at least and tries to do the right thing.
So they value they likely value many things, including baking, and also the virtuous, caring behaviors that you just espoused.
Sure. Yeah.
So no one likes me, but maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm not really sure. Chances are they probably do, at least to some degree. They might just be mad at you right now, and it feels bad. As you said, there's a difference between what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. In addition, the reason why they might not like you right now was predicated on the idea that you're not living up to the standards of daughter that they might have for you, except, and that's only one of the identities that we could have talked about, the daughter one in particular. You mentioned others, but I'll just take that one for now. You're not living up to the standard of daughter that you thought that they had in their mind. But then you also kind of realize that, if you listen more carefully, if you remember more carefully, you remember them kind of holding other values too, and you do embody those. And if they might be upset at you not baking a cake or baking a cake correctly, they might also really value those things in you, and it just feels bad. Does any of that seem reasonable?
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
And does that make it feel a little less painful?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a CBT-ish approach,
Mm-hmm.
what I was just doing there. It's really
Mm-hmm.
identify the thought, reframe the thought, challenge the thought, try to get to a different understanding, using the client's words to really kind of pick apart something in a
Mm-hmm.
different way. It's not useful. That's not bad therapy, what I
No,
just did
not at
there.
all. No.
But what don't we get to? We don't get to, but what is my place in this world? Who am I trying to be? Who am I trying to impress? Why do I engage in these relationships at all? What is the nature of family and its importance to me? It's just another layer that goes unaddressed. And if this client was bringing to me big ideas, like the way that I first presented it, there were big ideas. It's not just nobody likes me and I don't know what to do. It's, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to
Mm-hmm.
leave and go hunt meese
Right.
that may or may not exist in Minnesota.
Yeah. I I think there's definitely something deeper there going on for that client. And yeah, like the CBT approach, yeah, that gave some reprieve and some levity to like the deep feelings I was thinking that everyone hates me. It took it lifted that a little bit. But I do think that like I also find that exploring some of those like existential questions first through, just feeling emotions, just exploring, just I don't know, exploring perhaps some of these beliefs that stem from childhood, all those sorts of things. If I can do that first and then get to like the CBT approach of like, okay, now let's reframe and challenge that original thought. I feel like I have more ground to do that. I feel like they're more receptive and less defensive if I just if rather than just out the gate going to like trying to challenge the thoughts, because I just feel like the response I usually get is just defensive, defensive, defensive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly true. It's something that we teach in the training program is CBT is fine as a piece of a broader whole, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And the place that I would put it is later. I think if we do the other things, if we try the other things, then you can end up getting really far first, and then the CBT kind of takes better.
Yes.
It'll last longer.
Yeah.
I
People.
would love to ask a client in this setting, why do you care whether they like you or not? Knowing full well that they do, and probably they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I'd love to ask the question just like, why do you care whether they like you?
I
Who
think the
knows? Yeah.
I think the client would say, I care whether they like me because I want to be liked and these are my friends' friends, and um I want to be able to hang out with them without any awkwardness. And yeah, it would
So
make me really uncomfortable to be around people that don't have a good impression of me or don't
so
like
you're
me.
imagining some future where this is tense and awkward and hard.
Hmm.
What happens if that future becomes true?
Oh God, it would be really uncomfortable attending another group gathering, assuming I'm even invited next time.
What happens if you're not invited, or what happens if you are invited but you can tell?
Oh man, that would just feel really crappy. And it just brings me back to those, I don't know, those days when I was like on the playground and I was like excluded. And
Because bullying and ostracization was a part of your history.
yeah, so it just like uh I don't want to experience that as an adult. Like I I don't know, it would just be so much easier to go through these interactions with these people if they liked me. So
And what happens if this is sustained, that they don't like you? Maybe you stop getting invites. Maybe there's that constant friction between your partner's friends and yourself. What then happens to you?
well then I'm worried that um well, I've been saying friend, you've been saying partner, but whichever. I'm worried that my close friend or partner who's bringing me around these other people, maybe they start to think differently of me because these other people don't think well of me. Maybe they wise up.
Yeah. So this relationship might be threatened.
Oh yeah,
I might lose them.
I
Just
might
like I
lose
lost
everybody.
just like I lost everybody back on that playground way back when.
Yeah,
And that would be devastating.
yeah.
What's that feel like to really sit in? You know, it's October 2037 and you've lost everybody. What's that feel like?
Lonely, embarrassing, isolating, and shameful, and I just don't feel good about myself.
And you've felt that before.
Yeah.
It does matter on some level what these people think of you. That's a reality of the situation, right? These are important people now because they're connected to an important person for you.
Hmm.
But in addition to that, and maybe at a deeper level, you're interacting with yourself and your own history and
Mm.
your own fears of this potential eventuality, this potential isolation. That hasn't happened yet. It is a fantasy story. I understand it's a valid fear on some level,
Hmm.
but we're not there yet. We're nowhere near there yet. There's a lot of time to interact with the situation yet. We also don't know what they thought of you. There's plenty of space between that terrible, awful possibility and the reality of the present circumstance. And I see you just being afraid of what did happen and what could happen. But that's not right now.
Yeah, I'm definitely worried about a scenario that hasn't happened, just a scenario that could happen. And it's keeping me really anxious and in my head and probably not as present as I would want to be with these people then. I'm kind of like blocking myself from like actually making a good connection with them.
I bet you anything. This doesn't end as badly as you're expecting. No, I'm not making that promise. It entirely possibly could, and I think it's still okay even if it does. But if this is a person that you want to have close to you, your friend, if these are people that you want to have around you, and I trust your judgment, and I think your judgment is generally very good about these things, so I think you picked these people on purpose because you have some degree of belief that they're going to be able to hold space for somebody who's imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
If all of that is true, then I suspect that they're going to take care of you here. They're going to provide grace for you here, and they're going to have allowances for you to just be a human who's imperfect. If that's not the situation you find yourself, then I would question why you would want to continue to participate in such spaces. Because again, you have to pick who you put yourself around.
Yeah.
So pick wisely. My hunch at the moment is that you already did. But if the data changes and we're in a different situation and you discover that these people aren't willing to provide grace and care and support for you just being as you are, even if that's a little anxious and uncertain, then we need to make a different choice.
Yeah. You have really good points there, Adam.
So, did we validate the emotion?
Yes, 100%.
Did we validate the fears? Did we validate the past?
Yeah, we validated all of those things and sat in that, and I felt taken care of and heard of and validated by you before you started helping me try to think differently about it.
And what if this idea nobody likes me? Because we didn't address that directly in this conversation.
Well, I think the nobody likes me is predicated on I think it was sort of addressed inadvertently in the sense that like we kind of explored how this feeling stems from a feeling I felt on the playground when I was a kid. So it's not necessarily true. It's just opening an old wound of like nobody likes me. And I also I think you also I don't know if you did say it or not, but like we also don't know that that's necessarily true. And so yeah, I mean I think this idea if I was this client feeling this idea if nobody likes me, it didn't feel as true by the end of it. It felt more like these were wounds that I'm scared of reopening.
Yeah, so we validate the emotional experience and we contextualize the emotional experience, which undermines the argument that a CBTer would go directly at.
Right.
By just describing together what you're feeling and why you're feeling it, it can kind of lose its might.
Exactly. Instead of just like going straight for, well, is it really true that nobody likes you? Let's think of people that like you, you know, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, so much role playing today. So much
Great
good
acting,
therapy
Allie.
happening. Oh, thank you. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode. As always, if you would like to reach out for us for a consultation call, free consultation call, I might head on over to delvpsych.com. And if you would like to check out our blog where we talk about really juicy topics just like this one, head on over to delvpsych.substack.com. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you, Allie. Thank you.